Hey guys, Civilord here, back again with another action figure review, and today we will unfortunately be coming to the conclusion, at least until further notice, of my Gargoyles Ultimates reviews with none other than the Steel Clan Robot, who is, of course, a variant slash repaint of the armored Xanatos we looked at earlier today, so don't expect a whole lot out of this video other than some comparisons and stuff like that, because we already looked at this figure, essentially. That said, this is brought to us by the fine folks over at NECA Toys, despite the fact that they totally dropped the ball on this line. Let's not kid ourselves. And not for nothing, Steel Clan Robot here has been known to have some scratches in the wings. I will spread mine out here, give you guys a better look at my particular figure. I don't really see anything like too egregious, but you know, my eyes aren't the best either. The one thing I will say that he's got that armored Xanatos doesn't have is a little bit more finickiness in the knees, probably because he is a little older. I've had him longer. I think I've had his figure for like almost 2 years now, and I'm just now getting around to reviewing it. Would you look at that? But either way, he's a little looser, and that's never a good thing. So before I get too far ahead of ourselves, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look-see at all the Steel Clan Robot has to offer in terms of accessories. Starting off with a pair of grip hands. Once again, we saw all these with the Xanatos figure, so nothing new here. We get the flat, kind of open, relaxed hands. We get the claw hands. We get the cannons, forearm cannons, which are actually really cool pieces, and the Kenner figure actually has one of these on it. So there you go, and I'll actually show you how to put one of these on. I can pop one of these panels off easily, that is. I will say, after doing this enough times, you might want to heat up the panel so it sits a little more flush on the arm. But just plug that in, like so, and now he's got the cannon coming out of his arm. That's pretty cool. I dig that, but I like having space. Well, these panels take up way less space than those. But I will say, you might want to heat up these panels if you pop them out enough times, because you could warp them doing that, word-wise. That said, we get this big blast effect for the backpack, or the thruster in his back there. And while I might not be able to get it all the way in there, there you go. It might not be all the way in there, but it's in there enough to get the idea that yes, he can shoot flames out of his bunghole, which is on his back for some reason. And then we get the two little guys, which again I think are meant for his feet. But where on his feet? I want to say these bigger ports. Let me try one of those first. I want to say these are for the bigger ports on his feet. Yeah. Like I said, not perfect, but you get the idea. You could put them there. Other than that, it is the same figure as armored Xanatos. He doesn't have that little rebreather piece because he's a robot. He'll need oxygen. He does not need oxygen. Anyone remember that Yes song? It's actually Love Is Like Oxygen, but I remixed it to make sense for this video, as I often do with song references. But yeah, I like this figure, but again, it's a finicky mess. It's a rather finicky mess. because, well, NECA sucks at degenerate characters. Let's be honest here. That's the main problem with this line. They're all, like, the majority of them are in this stupid degenerate pose, and they're just a pain in the arse to stand because of that. It's accurate, but it's not fun. I'll give them. I'll say that, especially this frickin' leg. This one always wanting to pop out of place. Probably because the hinge is loose. Because NECA. So yeah, that doesn't want to go. That does not want to stay. Really trying not to lose it here. So we can move on with this, but you do not want to cooperate, buddy. You want to fall on your face, and that is not happening. Look at that, just trying to balance him. His foot wants to buckle. And not for nothing, me being the crazed lunatic I am, I do actually want a second one of these. There. Stay, please. Stay. I don't get how one leg is longer than the other. I really don't. I really don't get how I can't get this foot flat either. It makes me wonder if I have, like, an issue or something. Because he does not want to sit. I don't know. Something's weird. Something weird is going on with that foot. I'm going to have to look at that later, but that is it. That is all I can stand, no pun intended, with this guy right now, because he does not want to stand very well at all. Probably because he is old, and this one was always the looser of the two based off videos I've seen of it. So I guess you got that going for you, or against you. I mean, look at that. He just wants to topple right over. Gotta love. I kind of hope NECA goes out of business for this line, because they mucked it up pretty good. Like, really good. I hope they can all find jobs afterwards, but they really screwed the pooch on this line. This could have been like one of the sickest lines ever, and instead it's just one of the most tedious, nauseating, like, unenjoyable lines, period. And that sucks. Look at this. I can't even get this other leg freaking flat here. Like, can we get your feet on the ground? Like, one leg keeps getting longer than the other. I don't know what to do here. There. Some stroke of luck. We got it. But, yeah, how long did that take? That's why I'm not showing articulation in this video. You want to know how this body moves? Look at my Armored Xanatos review. Oh, look at that. He's falling backwards. Up, 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 up. Stand. Stand. Come on, man. Would you stand up, man? There we go. Took the powers of Uncle Joe to get that to work. Either way, I'm glad I'm done reviewing this thing. That took way too long to just stand in a neutral position. I think it took me less time to pose this guy for the URL. So, yeah, if you enjoy watching me finick with stuff, you're welcome. But with that being said, before I have an aneurysm, I think it is time now that we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's our NECA Ultimate Steel Clan Robot alongside his Kenner counterpart, who, if I'm not careful with, will literally explode, because that is the action feature of this figure. Try saying that 5 times fast. That said, unlike the Armored Xanatos from Kenner, I think this one holds up much better. While it isn't 100% show accurate, it is way more accurate than that figure ever was, so carefully moving him out of the way here so we can bring in the suited Xanatos, who is a carryover from my Armored Xanatos from earlier today. check that out if you haven't already. Would really appreciate it if you did. And yeah, I think the scaling, it's not something I actually commented on in that video, but I think the scaling between these two is great. It actually looks like Xanatos could fit inside of the Steel Clan armor. No homo. Because a lot of the times when we get armored characters, for example Iron Man, he's too small to look like a dude in a suit. These figures definitely don't have that problem. They are very, very large. Very large indeed. That said, speaking of armored Xanatos, I can move the Steel Clan over just a little bit so we can bring in our armored Xanatos here, who's a little bit more stable. I'm going to say that right off the bat. I mean, I can get the Steel Clan to stand, but the armored Xanatos is way easier to stand. In my opinion. Maybe your mileage may vary, but armored Xanatos, way easier to stand. And of course, it's the same figure with like a collar piece going on, so he's going to be the same size as the Steel Clan robot. But centering him the best I can here. So we can bring in our two regulars. The Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulith. Right here. And the infamous. The oh so infamous. Okay, 11 Spawn. Who's not towering over everyone today because he ain't dude in a mech suit. So, once again, he's not towering over everyone. Not at all. So, with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and aside from the scratches some people have had on the wings of good old Steel Clan robot, and not coming with as much stuff as the armored Xanatos that we did take a look at earlier, check that review out if you haven't already. We'd really appreciate it if you did. I still like this figure. I think it's a solid addition to what was a very, I'm guessing, unsuccessful and, for lack of a better term, finicky line from the fine folks over at NECA Toys. And while I may have liked it and enjoyed collecting it despite the issues, the big issues of the wings, it sucks to see that it didn't do well, or at least good enough to get characters like Coldstone, Macbeth, etc. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.